Q&A. Does dynamic kicking, high, spinning, jumping, and flying kicks work in a real-life situation like for self-defense and street fights? This is a very good question. I'm going to try my best to answer it the best way that I can. From my experience, does high kicks, spinning back kicks, I was asked a question, does those kicks work in a real-life situation like street fights and for self-defense purposes? Like I mentioned before, when it comes to a style, karate, kung fu, taekwondo, judo, jiu-jitsu, wushu, whatever style you're doing, really depends on the person that's doing the style. So you can take up any style you want, but if you as a person don't implement the techniques in the correct way, the correct formation, the execution of the technique, it's not going to work for you. So it doesn't matter what style you do, it all depends on the person. So if the person trains consistently on working those flying kicks, those spinning kicks, spinning back kicks, and they work the kicks just as good as they work their hands to that high level, then most definitely those kicks will work in a street fight or for self-defense purpose. And it all comes down to the way you train. So, and your sparring, who you spar against, how you're training. If you're just doing the kicks like you're doing a kata, which katas are important, katas give you form, you give you distancing, you give you footwork, it builds your mind, builds your body. But if you're not sparring with those kicks and you're not landing those kicks on your opponent in training, then you're really not working the technique in a correct way to use it in a self-defense and a street fight situation. So you have to work those kicks in a real life kind of sparring situation where you're landing those kicks fast, your timing is there, your distancing, so you understand your range and your distancing to throw those kicks. Because if you don't work the range and the distancing to throw those kicks, when you come to real life situation, you're not going to be able to land those kicks, and that's where you're going to get messed up. That's where you're going to get into problems, because you didn't train the kicks when you were in the sparring, when you were practicing. You didn't work those kicks and understand the range and the distancing. So when it comes to real life situation, it's not going to work for you. And that goes for anything. That goes for any boxing or any jiu-jitsu or anything you're practicing. You have to train it in a real life situation. You have to spar, maybe get into a spar where it's like a full-on fight kind of, but it's a sparring, but you don't really try to hurt each other, but you kind of go hard. Like a 50-60% with gears on. So you can, get your distance and get your range, so you understand, how to use these kicks if it comes to real life situation. Also keep in mind, there is something they call tricking, which is tricking martial arts, where you run and do like a 360 spin in the air. You might do a dragon kick, you might do a 720 spin and then land the kick. Can those kicks work? I mean, those are dynamic kicking too. But again, as I said, if you train those kicks in a real life situation, most likely you can pull them off. And a lot of these kicks sometimes are just for show, so you have to keep that in mind. You have to understand yourself as a martial artist. You have to understand your body. You have to understand that if I'm fighting and I'm in a real fight, can I pull these moves off and be successful in pulling them off? So you have to understand yourself when you're training these techniques. So you really don't want to limit yourself to what you can do, because sometimes even working a high kick, when it's time to work the low kick, it will come easy to you because you can kick high, because you get the flexibility. So kicking low will be easy. You can do a spinning back kick, so maybe doing a side kick will be easier for you. So you don't want to limit yourself in whatever you're training. You just have to know as a person, can I use this realistically? When it's time to use it, you have to ask yourself, can I use this? And the only way you're going to know is to have sparring matches, is to have a couple of competitions and test yourself to see what really works for you. For different people, different persons, it's different. A lot of different people can jump in the air and just kick you in your face and you can get knocked out just like that. Even in a real life situation, it all depends on the person that you're fighting also. So when it comes to a real life situation, you don't know the person that you're fighting. So most of the time, you want to be careful on the techniques that you're throwing. You don't want to just start throwing a bunch of techniques if you don't really know the person. It's not a combat sport, it's not UFC. It's not K1, it's not glory. A lot of these competition and a lot of these fights are, you get to check your opponent out, you get to check your research on them to see the background of the style they do, you get to, you know, view their fights to see what their weaknesses and what techniques they have and stuff. In a real life situation, you don't get to view anybody on the street, you don't get to get a profile of the persons if they can do stand-up or they box or they have a weapon or a knife and gun on them. So most of the time, at least all the time, you're not gonna have nothing like that. So my suggestion, if you're getting you know, if you have to defend yourself or you get into a street fight, I would avoid it. First thing is to avoid getting into a street fight. If you can avoid it, avoid it. You know, if you can run, run. If you have no choice and you need to defend yourself, you wanna pick techniques, pick sharp techniques that you can execute the fastest and disable your opponent. You wanna look for vital areas that you can land the kick or land the punch the fastest and then get out of there. You don't wanna be scruffling with the person for too long. You don't wanna be in there for like hours fighting or minutes, or you wanna be seconds and out. Because you don't know what the person have on them. You don't know if the person has other friends with them. So you wanna execute the fastest technique that you can execute. It could be a front kick, it could be a straight punch, it could be a finger to the eye. It could be a strike to the throat, it could be a kick to the groin, you know, it could be a side kick to the face, you know. So you don't want to sit there with your opponent and just start throwing all different kind of kicks at him, because you're just setting yourself up for maybe a bullet to the face or a bullet to the chest or a knife stab, you know. So you don't want to play around with the opponent too much. Not saying that you can't land any kicks on him. You can. If you can land a quick roundhouse, if you train it and you're good on it and you're confident in your technique and you can land a quick roundhouse to the face, you can land a quick roundhouse and knock your opponent dead out. It all depends on the opponent you're fighting. It all depends on the situation you're in to land that kick. So you have to understand yourself. You have to know who you are as a person, how much training you have, how much confidence in the technique you have. So there's nothing wrong about throwing dynamic kicking. You just have to know when to throw it, you know, and know how to use it, and you know that, you know, I'm gonna do this, so if I'm confident in myself in throwing this technique. And a lot of these dynamic techniques, as I said before, it will help you in your training, because think about it, if you can jump high and kick high in the air like that with the flexibility, kicking low, kicking midsection is gonna be easy for you, because you're trained to kick high, jump high. So it kind of gives you that flexibility, it gives you that agility, you know, give you that movement that somebody else probably doesn't have, because they only stick to just throwing a kick a certain way. So they're not versatile. They're basically limiting their abilities, because, you know, they don't want to, they say, oh, all these high kicks don't work, this spinning kick don't work, this roundhouse, so I'm just going to leave it out, I'm just going to throw only low side kick. I mean, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but you're limiting yourself to your potential, because that's why you have 2 legs and you have 2 hands. And you know, you have 2 legs and 2 hands for a reason, because you can throw them in any direction you want. And if you're skilled in those techniques and you practice hard and you're confident in yourself and you're skilled, you can knock your opponent out easily with any leg you want, by doing any kick you want. If you're really skilled and you understand your range, your distancing, your timing, it can be a devastating thing. Also keep in mind, you need to understand the inside game also. So if you're gonna throw these kicks, you know, it's fine, but you gotta understand the inside game. So you gotta understand the clinching, you know, you gotta understand the jiu-jitsu. So just in case you throw a kick and the opponent moves in on you and you guys start to scruffle, because anything can happen in a street fight, you gotta understand how to deal with the person on the inside. So you have to know yourself, you know, what do you know? You know, what skills you possess, you know? Do you know the in and the outer games of the martial arts? So if you ever throw that kick and you get caught up on the inside, can you defend yourself on the inside? So you have to cover your grounds. So this is what I mean. You don't limit yourself, you only add to your game. And you as a person should know what to use when it comes to a real situation. Keep on kicking, subscribe to my channel, rate, comment, check out Gichie.com. Os!